You've done significant work on copyright. Can you tell us about your work and how copyright impacts the media landscape today?
Yeah, I think copyright is something that we don't pay enough attention to. Obviously, some lawyers do, but a lot of us, when we encounter the subject, our eyes just glaze over and we say, get me a iced tea or something. I've got something else to do. Uh, However, especially in the information age and in the digital age, it's extremely important, but not in the ways that you might think. The copyright that I've been very deeply involved in has more to do with recordings, but I think there's a message for the television industry here. And it is a message of what not to do as well as what to do. The record industry, which was the first really to get hit by the digital age and the dispersal of their product, willy-nilly, ran to Washington and tried to get tougher copyright laws, started suing everybody in sight, and basically tried to preserve their now outdated business model rather than adapt to the new realities of digital distribution. And they've been paying for that ever since. The record industry is down something like 40% or 50% in revenues over the last decade, despite all kinds of laws, all kinds of lawsuits, all kinds of banging of the table and insisting that people must buy things the way they want to sell them. And the lesson, of course, is that the public doesn't consume the way you want them to consume. They tell you how they want to consume, and then you have to build a business model around that. And the television industry, to its credit, I think, in the mid-2000s, early to mid-2000s, started looking for ways to adapt its business model to internet distribution while still having a business model. And it tried things like walled gardens, it tried things like Hulu, it's tried things like TV Everywhere, which seems to be the leading candidate now of a way to monetize other types of distribution without losing control of it. And the lesson is that the public will pay. American public will pay for entertainment if it's convenient and offers some added value to them. They don't want to steal for the sake of stealing. Maybe some groups that do, but not the public in general. But if you won't provide them with that, if you insist that it must be consumed, your product must be consumed on your terms, they'll find another way, and it may be stealing it. So I think the television industry, with its early attempts at iTunes and other kinds of distribution and more recent attempts, is going in the right direction, but it is something we have to pay attention to.
Is there any hope for music?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's hope for music.
As a business?
As a business. I mean, musical entertainment, by which people supported themselves, goes back, about 3,000 years, I guess. So I don't think it's going to disappear overnight. And the consuming public, even the young consuming public, will pay for things that are developed in a way that's convenient to them. There was an interesting set of articles, I think in a British publication recently that I followed, which was in 3 parts, and it looked at music available on the internet. First installment was from collectors and music fans, so it looked at all the sites that did that, a lot of them illegal sites. The second installment, the next issue, was about music available from libraries and institutions, that sort of thing. And those were, pretty good too. That was basically legal, but limited in what you could get. The third installment was music available from commercial sources, the record labels, the Spotify's, and the writer started it out by saying, I expected when I got to the paid services, where you're paying for it, you'd have the best service, and you'd have the best quality of sound, and you'd have the accompanying information about the artists and the music and stuff. But no, what I found was it was the worst. Compared to what was free, what you had to pay for, the quality wasn't as good, the navigation to find it was much more difficult, the liner notes and accompanying information was much less well done than it was by the enthusiasts, as a matter of fact. So if you're trying to build a business model and you're providing an inferior product, you're almost destined to lose. And I think what the business has to understand is if they want to charge, and they need to, obviously, to support their business and their artists and their creators, they've got to provide at least equal, if not better service, and better liner notes, and better quality, and more flexibility, and easier navigation, those kinds of things.
That business model that you just explained seems counterintuitive. Why do you think it was set up that way by the music industry? Was it just thoughtlessness, or? I mean, why would that be?
Well, the record industry is an oligopoly, as it's called in economics. I have an economics degree. So there's very few companies that control most of the business. None of them are run by founders or entrepreneurs. They're business people, because these companies are all very old. They've risen up through the ranks over the years. So it tends to be committee. It tends to be, I've been told the industry today has a bunker mentality. It's just fear of everything. And there's no Ted Turner. There's no kind of entrepreneur, Rupert Murdoch, whatever you want to say, from the video side, who has deep enough roots, who owns enough of the company, who has enough of an entrepreneurial, I'll build it from the bottom up kind of spirit to look at this. And it's ironic because, again, I did books on the early years of the record industry. Then it was run by entrepreneurs. It was run by Thomas Edison. It was run by people we don't remember today, but they founded these companies. And they didn't have any back catalog, and they didn't have any lawyers. They had to build it from the base up, and they were very entrepreneurial. And they would make risky decisions. And some of those record companies went away as a reason, and others flourished and became big. But now they kind of calcified. The video industry, fortunately, still has some of the founding people in it, and some of the real entrepreneurs who have an entrepreneurial, I'm going to go out there and build it spirit, as the internet does. But the record industry doesn't, and I think that served it ill when it was confronted with change. They formed a committee of lawyers and accountants and said, let's hire some people in Washington to go lobby for some new laws rather than how do we make our business better.